All Renegades of Puck to the trenches. It's time for Renegades of Puck TV. Welcome to the bunker. Welcome to the essence of no half-steppin'. I'm your host and captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier, and before we get started, I would love to tell you about renegadesofpuck.com. Once you go to renegadesofpuck.com, you'll get access points and information, everything you want to know about the Renegades of Puck. And once you click on that merchandise link, well, you can find the classic logo t-shirt right there. You can also find the Pride logo t-shirt. You can even find home base freakout merchandise and all of the classic gimmicks like socks, throw pillows, bed sets, wall art, and well beyond that. Over 50 gimmicks in our online store. Remember, all profits made off of our merchandise go directly to the Renegades of Puck. We've sold out so that you can buy in. Social media is critically important to this operation now, just about 6 months in business, and we're doing a great job, but we can always do better. I need your help out there, Renegades. Please continue the recruiting operations and bring one by one to the trenches. We will build a force for positivity in the hockey community, and we will continue adding to those numbers. Please subscribe on YouTube and turn on those notifications, and once you see an episode of Renegades of Puck TV posted, make sure you are spreading those links around. You can do that very easily via Facebook. If Facebook is not your preferred method of social media, then please share those links on Twitter. We are very easy to find and very accessible at Renegades of Puck on Twitter. You can also find us on Instagram. That's a great place to let new Renegades of Puck know all about the show. Tell them to start following along right there on Instagram. You can find the traditional format on SoundCloud in audio-only podcast form. And of course, you can find the behind-the-scenes live stream on our Twitch feed. That's where all the information comes out first, and if there are any second takes, mistakes, or F-bombs, that's exactly where you are going to find them. I also like to share bonus content, random stories, and also have a little bit of therapy with the Renegades of Puck right there on our Twitch feed. So again, thank you to each and every one of you for helping out and assisting on social media. It doesn't take you but a second, and it also doesn't cost you a single penny to help us out in the digital realm. If you can become a partner of the Renegades of Puck, we would greatly appreciate that. You can do that by going to Venmo. All you got to do is search Renegades of Puck or scan the QR code that's currently on your screen. Any donation helps the Renegades of Puck, and just like merchandise, every single penny and every dollar that is made in donations goes directly to the Renegades of Puck. You can see the difference it's made already here in the trenches. Our funds were very depleted after the home base freakout, so we are currently rebuilding and getting ready for more projects here in the future. So again, if you can become a partner of the Renegades of Puck, we sure would appreciate that very much. Stick taps, love, and respect, as we say here in the trenches. Now, I'm absolutely 100% certain that you come here for the no half-step in hockey coverage, so it's time for me to deliver the goods. On this date in hockey history, the Nashville Preds currently find themselves in 4th place in the Central Division. They've completed 61 games on the schedule. They hold a record of 35, 22, and 4. That is good for 74 points. They are even in points with Minnesota Wild, but they played 2 more games than Minnesota. They are currently 3 points behind the St. Louis Blues, who lost in overtime tonight, and they are 17 points behind 1st place Colorado. A 5-point cushion is now available above the Dallas Stars, also an 8-point cushion above the Winnipeg Jets, and I have given up mentioning the Blackhawks and the Arizona Coyotes unless the Nashville Preds are playing them directly. Now, the Nashville Preds have wrapped up their 1-game road trip, and we will recap that game momentarily. Their next game will take place on home ice at Bridgestone Arena. Currently a record of 18, 11, and 0 at Bridgestone Arena, a goal differential of plus 26. Now, the Nashville Preds' next opponent will be another Eastern Conference opponent. It will be the Toronto Maple Leafs. The second and final time of the season these two teams have met, it was back on November the 16th when the Preds fell 3-0 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. UC Stars got the start and took the loss, going 31 out of 33. It was Campbell getting the shutout with 24 save. Comp, Marner, and Matthews scored the goals against the Nashville Predators, and if you remember back to November the 16th, this was one of the Nashville Predators' worst overall performances of the entire season, so looking for a rebound performance and hoping to pick up 2 points against an Eastern Conference opponent. Now, once the Nashville Predators wrap up this 1-game homestand against the Toronto Maple Leafs, it will be a 3-game Western road trip, Monday night, Tuesday night, back-to-back, Anaheim and LA. It's going to be a late night right here in the bunker, but we will be here to deliver the goods. I can guarantee that. On the 24th, the Nashville Predators will be in Vegas to wrap up that road trip. Now, those are critical games because the wild card now is going to start to come into play more so than the division race over the final 20 games of the season. Once the Preds are finished with that 3-game road trip, they're back home to face off against the Philadelphia Flyers on the 27th and the Ottawa Senators on the 29th of March, and that closes out the month of March on the regular season schedule. The Toronto Maple Leafs on the season are 38-17-5. They have 81 points, and that has them third overall in the Atlantic Division. On the road, an impressive record of 17-10-3, and a goal differential also impressive, plus 42. In their most recent stretch of games, we'll go back 5. That takes us back to March the 8th. It was a 6-4 win versus the Seattle Kraken. On the 10th of March, a 5-4 overtime loss versus the Arizona Coyotes. On the 13th, a 5-2 loss at the Buffalo Sabres. On the 15th, a 4-0 win versus the Dallas Stars, and a 3-2 win versus the Carolina Hurricanes in their most recent games. So what you see is some up and down action from the Leafs as of late, losing to some bad teams in Seattle, Arizona, and Buffalo, but then also defeating Dallas and Carolina, who are two relatively good teams. When you take a look inside the rankings of the NHL for these two teams and in this matchup, goals for the Nashville Predators at 3.20 is 13th best in the NHL, but the Toronto Maple Leafs are 4th best in the NHL with a goals for per game of 3.67. Goals against, the Preds win this matchup at 10th overall in the league at 2.79, while the Leafs are at 16th at 2.98. Shots for 7th overall in the NHL for the Toronto Maple Leafs, 34.5. And, we've been talking about it. It's been quality, quantity. It doesn't really make a difference. The Preds haven't been getting enough pucks on net the entirety of the season. They're 27th now overall in the NHL out of 32 clubs. Shots against, also another metric that leads for the Maple Leafs, 30.9 per game is 10th best in the league, while the Preds are 15th. Now, specialty teams, you're not going to be very surprised to find out the Maple Leafs have a very good, high-powered power play. As a matter of fact, right now it's currently rated the best in the NHL. They've converted 47 times on 160 opportunities, 29.4%. The Preds, though, are a top 10 power play as well, 9th best in the league, 45 conversions on 189 opportunities. On the penalty kill, it is the Maple Leafs also besting the Nashville Predators with the 5th best penalty kill in the league. They've only given up 26 power play goals against this season, 84.8%. That is highly impressive. The Nashville Predators penalty kill is 15th in the NHL. They have given up 42 power play goals against. Going into this game, the Nashville Predators are going to need to slow down a high-powered offense, and that's going to be tough to do without Benning or Borowiecki still listed as day-to-day. The Nashville Predators really need to shore up that third D pair, either by getting bodies back healthy into the lineup or by going out and making a deal here. As we've already seen, the trade deadline might still be a couple of days away, but the deals are already starting to fall across the landscape of the NHL. Let me give you the individual statistics for these two teams. There are some highly impressive stats. Let me give you the Leafs side of the ledger first. I broke the tie because Matthews is the leading scorer overall in this matchup, 45 goals in the season, 32 assists, 77 points. Marner at 24 and 41 for 65. Tavares at 20 and 38 for 58. Nylander 23 and 34 for 57. Riley 6 goals, 42 assists, 48 points. And in net, Campbell 24, 9 and 0 at 2.65 goals against average, a 914 save percentage. It is just a list of all-stars right there putting up big-time seasons. Now, the Nashville Predators have plenty of high-end players that are putting up really big seasons of their own. The captain, Roman Josi, has just been otherworldly as of late, completely running out of adjectives to describe his game in the recent stretches. Now, 17 goals and 55 assists for 72 points on the season. We'll get into what those numbers mean here in a couple of minutes, but he has already surpassed one of the Nashville Predators franchise records. Matt Duchene at 31 goals and 30 assists for 61 points. Philip Forsberg now at 32 goals and 24 assists for 56 points. Granlund at 9 and 36 for 45. Johansson's got 15 goals and 29 assists for 44 points. And Tanner Jeannot now has 20 goals on the season. Add 15 assists to that for 35 points overall. UC Saros numbers 29, 19, and 3 is the record. 2.46 goals against average and a 9.23 save percentage. Now after the Nashville Predators dropped the game in Philadelphia late, and we will recap that in full detail here momentarily. The Nashville Predators need to come home and play a very strong game against this Toronto Maple Leafs team. 3 opportunities to face off against Eastern Conference teams this week. Now the Nashville Predators are 1-1. They need to find a way to get some points to remain competitive with the Minnesota Wild and the St. Louis Blues in the chase for second and third place, respectively, in the Central Division. No reason to think the Nashville Predators can't come out and have a much better performance than they did in the game back on November the 16th against the Toronto Maple Leafs team. Let's face it, that game was one of the bottom games of the entire season. Truly one of the lowest moments for the Preds on the schedule. It doesn't hurt losing to a very good hockey club, but the way they played in that game made that game very much painful. So for the Preds, come out, give a strong effort on home ice, put in another full 60, very much the way you did against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and you should be able to find yourself getting a point or two against the Toronto Maple Leafs. But you're going to have to do something much more than you did in Philadelphia tonight. It's now time for the Rebirth Sports full game recap. Rebirth Sports, you can find them online at rebirthsports.com or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please give some stick taps, love, and respect to some incredible partners to the Renegades of Puck. You see the brand new Renegades of Puck third jersey right now being worn in the bunker. I've received some incredible compliments, as I always do every time I debut a new jersey and some new threads from Rebirth Sports. They are not just jersey makers, they are hockey tailors, and they can outfit your entire hockey operation. Please check their work out at rebirthsports.com and reach out to them. They're incredible people, they make an incredible product, and they're great partners. You should want your organization involved with Rebirth Sports. Believe me, I would not do business with anybody else other than Rebirth Sports when it comes to getting the jerseys made for the Renegades of Puck. Stick taps, love, and respect to your entire crew up there, Rebirth Sports. You guys are simply incredible. Now, let's go back and take a look at this Rebirth Sports full game recap. It took place on this date in history, 3/17 of the year 2022, and the Nashville Preds were in Philadelphia to take on the Flyers. John Hines deployed his lines in the following ways: Forsberg, Johansson, and Duchesne, Tolvin and Granlund and Cunnin, Trenton, Sissons, and Jeannot, better known as the Herd line, Cousins, McCarron, and Tomasino. Your defensive pairings: Yossi and Fabro, Ekholm and Carrier, Harper and Myers getting an opportunity to start in Philadelphia for the first time after being traded from Philadelphia to Nashville last summer. UC Saros, of course, gets the start in net. We are 29 seconds into the first period. Hart comes up with a save on Trenton. First shot on goal for the Nashville Preds. First shot on goal of the game. We're now 2:09 in the first period, and Brown hits the post from out high. UC Saros never saw this one coming from long range. At 3:11 of the first period, Saros comes up with a save on Giroux, plus multiple rebound opportunities. It ended up being a 5-shot sequence over a very long possession by the Philadelphia Flyers. At 7 minutes of the first period, McCarron and McEwen off to the box, 5 minutes each. McEwen lands 3 heavy rights at the beginning of this fight, and McCarron did not look very good overall. Decent scrap, a little fun, but McCarron took a bit of a beating in this one. 7:41 of the first period, Saros comes up with a save on Hayes, partial breakaway after Cousins. Awful turnover in the neutral zone, but at 7:44, following up the play, you see Sanheim get his 5th goal of the season. The puck was played to the low slot. It deflects right to his stick for an easy putback and finish on his 5th goal of the season. Philadelphia has a 1-0 lead in the first period. 7:52, the captain Romaniossi's off the box. 2 minutes before boarding, we'd see lots of possession on that power play, but we would see Saros come up with a huge save on a deflection as he kicked out the leg and kept the bouncing puck out of the net. The Preds are able to get out of danger. 10:29 of the first period, Ekholm's off the box. 2 minutes for interference. Looked more like cross-checking. Giroux goes to the box. 2 minutes for hooking. Now we have a 4-on-4 scenario for 1 minute and 22 seconds. 15:49, UC Saros comes up with a save on Brown. 18:58, Brassard hits the post after Duchesne with a brutal turnover. The Preds not looking very good or solid on the puck in the first period in this game. As a matter of fact, we hit the intermission. I don't know that I've seen the Preds need an intermission as badly as they did tonight at the end of the first period this season. Philadelphia outshoots Nashville 17-11 in the first period, and if not for UC Saros coming up with some incredible saves, then the Nashville Preds would have been run out of the rink here by the end of the first period. A clean sheet and a new attitude for the Nashville Preds, because 23 seconds into the period, Jeannot's got his 20th goal of the season. It was the Herd line that was hard on the forecheck, leading to a turnover, and Jeannot comes away with the snipe going to the top corner. His 20th goal gives the Nashville Preds their first goal of the game and ties the game at 1 apiece. So we've got a brand new hockey game at 1:13 of the second period. Duchesne's off the box, 2 minutes for interference, and that's where we see York picking up his 2nd goal of the season, giving Philly their 2nd goal of the game, and also a 2-1 lead. The puck deflected perfectly onto York's stick for an easy finish. 2nd goal looking just like that for Philly in this game. Before you could even take a breath, though, at 3:48, Van Riemsdyk's 14th goal of the season makes it a 3-1 game in favor of the Flyers. It was 5 jam attempts. The puck finds its way into the slot for an easy goal. I don't understand how the Nashville Preds were unable to cover this puck up or unable to clear the bodies away, but they were simply unable. At 5:16, though, Myers gets his first goal of the season, returning to Philly and getting a great little bunny hop after scoring that goal. It's great to see pure joy and enthusiasm out of a professional athlete, and Myers absolutely exuded that. Even if it was only a tiny little bunny hop, you know what it means for these guys out there. So an opportunity for Myers to go back to Philadelphia. He scores his first goal of the season, and it was the captain, Romaniosi, giving the handoff for the big shot. There were layers of Flyers setting the screen nicely, so Hart couldn't see a thing. Philadelphia Philadelphia still leads 3-2, but the Preds have life on Myers' first goal of the season. 6:03 of the second period, we see Sissons go off the box 2 minutes for high sticking. Janot, strong shift out there on the PK, killing quite a bit of time. 8:26. McEwen's off the box 2 minutes for tripping. Plenty of possession for the Nashville Predators, but not enough pucks through the traffic and into the net. 14:50 of the second period. Saros comes up with a save on McEwen. 15:08. Konecny's off to the box 4 minutes for high sticking on Fabro. Johansson picks up his 16th goal of the season. It was Granlund with the feed for Johansson to chip into the low slot into the net. Sweet looking play and great teamwork by these line mates right here. The Nashville Predators tied the game up at 3 apiece, and we hit the second intermission. Philadelphia out shooting Nashville 28-18 after 40 minutes. A clean sheet and another fresh attitude for the Preds in the third period. Now we're 1:11 into the period, and Forsberg's got his 32nd goal of the season. It was Roman Josi going behind the net and setting up Forsberg in the slot. Preds with a 4-3 lead. It wasn't just Philip Forsberg scoring a goal from a Roman Josi setup. Philip Forsberg goes through the legs and puts the puck into the top corner of the net. Truly one of the highlight reel goals of the entire season. You will probably see that across all of the national feeds and in promos over the next several days. The Nashville Predators, after this goal, clearly fired up and inspired because they are playing incredibly strong hockey after they pick up the lead. Through the first half of the third period, the Nashville Predators have only given up 2 shots on goal in a game where they had given up 28 in the first 40 minutes. So the Nashville Predators are certainly playing a very solid third period road game. At 11:32 of the third period, Ekholm's heavy shot knocks the wind out of Hart. 13-28. Brassard appears to score a goal as the puck squeaks through UC Saros, but it's challenged for a high stick. The play that kept the puck in the zone is what John Hines was concerned about. The referees take a long look at it and overturn the play. Philadelphia was absolutely buzzing around the Nashville Predator zone for nearly 2 minutes before this opportunity. So the goal coming off the board is a great benefit to the Nashville Predators, but the Preds having this long delay also takes away some of Philly's momentum. At 14-17 in the third period, Farabee and Ekholm off the box 2 minutes each for a trip and an embellishment. At 15:45, Hayes, though, his 5th goal of the season, does tie the game up at 4 apiece. Ristolainen took the puck all the way through the neutral zone and down the wall in the offensive zone, throws the puck to the lot, and Hayes is right there with the gem. The Philadelphia Flyers were absolutely going to the hard areas tonight, but they weren't paying very much of a price. What they were doing is getting rewarded with plenty of goals. 18:41 of the third period. It is an absolute disaster moment for the Nashville Predators. Farabee scores his 12th goal of the season. He was wide open at the top of the crease for an easy tap-in after what I am going to call some lazy defense nearing the very end of the game, when the Nashville Predators, at the very least, had themselves secured a point. They get lackadaisical in their own defensive zone and leave a player wide open standing on top of the crease. One of the easiest goals you'll ever see scored in the NHL. Philadelphia scores right there, making it 5-4, and that's your final score because, once again, the Nashville Predators with the extra attacker cannot generate enough offense to put the puck into the net. The Preds fall 5-4 on the road. They fail to pick up a point against a very bad Eastern Conference team in a game where they had the lead in the third period and where they were tied in the third period going very late. They end up out shooting Philadelphia at 34-33, but I bet most Preds fans would have just preferred to get a victory or at least a point out of this one. I got to tell you, put that one right on the list with Seattle, put that one on the list with Montreal, Chicago earlier in the season. Just a pitiful performance at the end of a game. A professional team trying to make a playoff spot in a very highly contested Central Division with less than 2 minutes to go in a game has to be able to protect a lead, has to be able to protect that point. You already had the lead blown in the third period. You were given the gift of a goal being taken off the board, and it just wasn't enough. Now, listen, there were a couple of bad bounces tonight, and at the end of the night, you have to be able to put this one aside, and you have to be able to move forward and get ready for the Toronto Maple Leafs and get ready for an important road trip out west here in a couple of days. But in the moment right now, as we're talking about it, a performance like that simply cannot happen. Even if there's a couple of bad bounces against, you managed to fight back. You tied the game up at 3 apiece. You had a 1-goal lead in the third period, and you managed to just do some very, very bad things down the stretch of this game. There cannot be players wide open standing on top of the crease when the game is tied at 4 apiece with a minute and a half to go. It just simply cannot happen. You were too loose in the defensive end of things the entire night. That's why pucks were able to ping pong, bounce off of things all over the place, and find themselves on Philadelphia Flyer sticks. If the Flyers have been paying the price a little bit more, perhaps the Nashville Preds come out on this one. When a team is usually expected to be as physical as the Preds are, I anticipated them to handle the Flyers a little bit better than they did tonight. Another opportunity at home against the Leafs, and then you'll have a couple of opportunities against some bad teams out on the West Coast. I sure hope you're going to get this out of your system and stop playing down to bad teams, or else you're going to find yourself on the outside of the playoff picture. UC Saros in this game was 28 out of 33. I just talked about it. There were bad bounces all over the place, and I felt that there was lacking support. There were bodies that were remaining upright that should have been down on their keisters along the ice, as Terry Crisp would put it so eloquently on the broadcast. The Nashville Preds simply weren't hard enough or committed enough to the defensive side of things tonight, and that's why they gave up 5 goals against, and that's why they took the loss on the road in a fairly embarrassing fashion here at the end of the game. Mostradamus is going to break down everything that happened between the pipes tonight with UC Saros, and I assume he's going to talk an awful lot about how the Nashville Preds defense failed to support their starting netminder tonight. You can find him on Twitter at Creekoli35. You can watch him right here on Renegades of Puck TV. He is, of course, Mostradamus.
Thank you very much, Charlie. The Nashville Predators with a disappointing performance up in Philadelphia on Claude Giroux night. His 1,000th game and possibly his last game as a Philadelphia Flyer. 5-4 the final. Game that the Preds really came out and were completely flat. UC Saros saved them in the first period, only being down 1-0. And maybe you blame Saros in this one, in a manner of speaking, because the Preds should have been down about 4-0 after the first period. The game would have never been in doubt. Instead, we get a big hope spot. The Preds come back after being down 3-1, take the lead, and of course, unfortunately for them, fall apart late with some really just poor defense and poor communication in their own zone, leading to a couple goals against. They were fortunate, of course, with the high sticking call being called back as far as one of the goals go, but shortly thereafter, as soon as that happened, the Flyers came right back at them the last 7 minutes of the game, and for the most part dominated the last 7 minutes, got the tying goal, and of course the game winner just under 1:20 to play. They get caught puck watching on the last goal. That's the one that really bugged me, where everybody just staring off into the half wall, nobody paying attention to Farabee, who's all by his lonesome right next to UC Saros. And part of that may be UC Saros communicating with the team that there's somebody there. Nobody paid attention. Whatever the case is, just inexcusable with that little time left in the game to leave a guy wide open in front of your net for an easy tap-in goal to beat you, and you don't even get a point out of the game. There's no time for sulk, though, for the Nashville Predators. Saturday night, Toronto comes to town. It's the night that Nashville media loves to hate. The Toronto media is in town. And, of course, pile onto that the fact that it is 2 days before the trade deadline, and all talk is all about Philip Forsberg and what his destination will be. Will he resign? Will he be traded? Will he just stand pat? And David Poile risks another Ryan Suter situation at the end of the season. Whatever the case is, the Toronto media will be all over it. It'll be quite annoying, I'm sure, but that's what they do. In net, of course, you'll probably see UC Saros for the Nashville Predators. In net for Toronto, Erik Colgrin. Who the hell is Erik Colgrin? Well, Erik Colgrin has played just a couple of games in his NHL career. 25 years old, former 7th-round pick from the Arizona Coyotes. Started his career pretty good, I would say. Almost 130 consecutive minutes of regulation play before he even gave up a single goal in his career. He gave up no goals to Dallas, shutting them out, 35 save shutout against Dallas a couple nights ago, and then Thursday night beating the Carolina Hurricanes, which, as we know, one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. 34 out of 36 on that night as well for Erik Colgrin. Expect to see him in net against the Nashville Predators on Saturday night, and also the return of Austin Matthews from his 2-game suspension. So things do not get easier for the Nashville Predators, but after a loss to a bad team, now time to play up to your potential and beat a very good Toronto team who is rolling right now. Charlie, back to you.
You can find him on Twitter at GreekGoalie35. You can watch him right here on Renegades of Puck TV. He is the one and only Mostradamus, the starting goaltender of the Renegades of Puck, and I appreciate him very much. I appreciate Strong Style Fitness as well, another incredible partner of the show. You can find Strong Style Fitness by going to strongstylefit.com or searching on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Strong Style Fitness is going to have new videos coming out here in the next couple of weeks, and we are so excited to be promoting those. But for now, there are over 150 workouts already on demand and ready for you by a certified personal trainer that are completely set up to be donation-based. I know the results are capable because I have seen plenty of Renegades reach their goals. You can too. If it's your first stretch or if you're ready to throw iron like Pro Tracy can help talk you through each and every one of those workouts, and she does. It's on demand, and it is completely free for you Renegades. Stay healthy, stay happy, get yourself motivated and ready. The warm weather is here. Get yourself to Strong Style Fitness and get yourself off the couch and get moving. We sure do appreciate Strong Style Fit here in the trenches with the Renegades of Puck. Records. Tonight was one of those games. For the Nashville Predators, it's unfortunate because individual records are not something we generally celebrate in the hockey culture. Yes, of course, we talk about them, we mention them because numbers and stats, that drives the conversation. It's easy reference points. It's exactly the kind of thing that makes a show like this more interesting and more unique. But when it comes to hockey culture, when it comes to hockey players, you hear them talk about it all the time. They'd rather get the 2 points than pick up the 2 goals. They'd rather pick up the team record than the individual record. And tonight, that's kind of a sour one because for the Nashville Predators, there should have been a great opportunity to celebrate a couple of markers tonight. Philip Forsberg scoring his 210th career goal as a Nashville Predator, 210th career goal overall, ties David Legwand for the all-time franchise goals lead. His next will put him in sole position. So David Legwand is no longer the Nashville Predators franchise all-time goals leader. 210 goals for Philip Forsberg. Tanner Jeannot's 212th hit of the season came in tonight's game. That beats Shea Weber's single-season record. Tanner Jeannot, he does it all out there. Also scored his 20th goal of the season. And Roman Josi, 3 assists in this game, now 55 on the season. He passes Paul Kariya's single-season franchise record of 54 assists for number 1 all-time. And, of course, he's now chasing Paul Kariya's overall points record for a single season of 85. And what we thought was possible just a couple of games ago seems like it's almost certain now, as Roman Josi, 3 more points tonight. He just continues piling up the points game after game after game. I saw a note tonight that said he's now on pace for 96 points. We were concerned, could he even get to 85? It sure seems like he's going to get there now. We'll continue tracking that, though, right here on the Renegades of Puck. Of course, Sean C. Smith is in the trenches right now. He's got some intel, some analysis. He's going to talk about records and all kinds of things. You can find him on theforecheck.com. You can also find him on Twitter at SCSOTF. He is the one and only Sean C. Smith.
Thanks, Charlie. Hey, Renegades, Sean C. Smith, and I'm going to start off tonight by flipping a coin, and we're going to do this. We're going to have to talk about the good, and we're going to have to talk about the bad, but let's see which goes first. So heads is going to be good, tails is going to be bad. This is just a regular American quarter. I'm going to flip it and see what we're going to start with. Ups, tails. We're going to start with the bad. Okay, folks, friends, Renegades, listen up. After the game tonight, John Hynes said this: that wasn't at the standard that we need to play with. John Hynes was not happy. If you want to see John Hynes get upset, watch his post-game media availability, and you will see what it looks like when John Hynes is upset. He doesn't have a lot to say. He's very straightforward, and basically his message tonight was that's not how you're going to get the job done at any point. And let's be realistic here. You've seen the Predators shrink a few times this season when they're playing against an opponent that's pretty much dead in the water. You saw it happen with the Canadiens earlier in the season. They didn't do it with the San Jose Sharks, but here it was again happening right in front of our very eyes against the Philadelphia Flyers. We need to see the team start kind of putting together that same game they can play against a surging team like the Penguins when they're playing against a team that's down closer to the bottom of the standings like the Flyers, like the Canadiens, some of these teams that they tend to have a hard time with for whatever reason. Now, John Hynes has always talked about not getting too high and not getting too low. And the reality here is it seems like when the team is on a high streak and they go up against a team that's just not considered very good, they play down. And those teams can surprise them because what I think everybody's forgetting is that despite the fact that they're lower in the standings, those teams are hungry teams. And especially the Flyers playing for their captain, who it looks like is their outgoing captain, Claude Giroux, playing his 1,000th NHL game, his last game in a Philadelphia Flyers uniform. They were going to get that win. They were determined to get that win for their outgoing captain tonight. And get that win they did, and realistically, they shouldn't have. The Predators weren't playing up to standards early on in that game, and that's what happens when you play with fire. You get burned. Now, we flipped a coin. We started with the bad. Let's finish with the good. despite the loss, again, you're not going to win every game. It's just not something that happens. And maybe this one's a little bit sad because they should have won, but they didn't, and we've got to move on. Just like Hines says of the players, you can't get too high, you can't get too low. Let's look on the bright side. You had some big things happen tonight. Tanner Jeannot breaks and sets the new record for Predators with most hits in a season, surpassing the previous record holder, Shea Weber. That's big stuff, and I think the important thing is whether or not you think that's a stat worth looking at, because maybe it doesn't have a huge impact on the actual scoring side of the game. It is something that you don't just go out there like a pinball and just blast into people. It's got to be done with a purpose. And the fact that Tanner Jeannot is already at that spot at this point in the season tells you that he's got a really strong eye for slowing down play. And I think that's one of the biggest things about his line. At the same time, Philip Forsberg scores goal number 32 on the season. He's now just 2 goals behind Victor Arvidsson's record, still 1 goal ahead of Matt Duchene, and there's still a lot of season left. Now, some of you may be saying, well, but what if they trade him? What if they trade Philip Forsberg? I don't think it's going to happen. I haven't seen enough scouts from other teams at Bridgestone Arena to make me think that there's a bunch of people looking at him. Because if this was something that David Poile was putting out there and saying, hey, everybody, it's an open season on Philip Forsberg, show me what you got, I'd have to think there'd be a lot more suitors in play, and you would see it every night that there was a home game, and I just haven't seen that. I don't know that that means they get a deal done. The recent Tomas Hertl mega deal, as far as I can tell, probably makes things a little bit murkier for what that number is going to be for Forsberg, but the reality is they don't have to get a deal done by the trade deadline in order to keep him. They still have plenty of time after the trade line to get it done before he goes onto the free agency market. And I think that may be something that you'll see as a deal after the trade deadline without Forsberg being traded at all. Hopefully they get it stitched up and taken care of before the season ends, but the reality is if they're still pretty far apart, and then you have that Hertl signing, which is 8 years, $8 million, which really kind of pushes the envelope for what Forsberg's representation should be asking for. It's going to take a while to get that deal done. But Forsberg surging, Roman Yossi's just stacking up point after point after point. And I tell you what, these goals are going to keep falling. And that, or not the goals, the records are going to keep falling. The goals will keep going in, but the records will keep falling. And that's something that, as long as the Predators are playing the game they need to play, which they do play against big opponents, they're going to be fine. They just need to figure out how to play it against opponents that they should take a little more seriously, even if they're lower in the standings. Hey, we did heads, we did tails, we did bad, we did good. Charlie, I'm going to send it back over to you.
You can find him on Twitter at SCSOTF. You can check out his work on theforecheck.com. You can watch him right here on Renegades of Puck TV. One more sponsor I want to tell you about, and it's more a great partner of the show. We have incredible partners here on the show. I've told you about a couple already, and I saved Stripe Digital Solutions for the last one. First of all, let me give you the particulars. StripeDigitalSolutions.com. I encourage you, please, go to the website and check out Stripe Digital Solutions. Also, social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The logo on the wall behind me, the crest on the jersey that you always see, renegadesofpuck.com, my social media plan, the way I'm building my brand, all of that has been made possible in partnership with, of course, Stripe Digital Solutions. Stripe Digital Solutions is a top-shelf, otherworldly artist that can help take all of your visions and make them into realities. You want to build your brand? You want to help your small business grow? Well, reach out and find out how Stripe Digital Solutions can help you, and do it today. Believe me, we could not be here operating the way we do or being successful the way we are, already winning awards here in the trenches, if it wasn't for the support of Stripe Digital Solutions. Again, I encourage each and every one of you, go to StripeDigitalSolutions.com and check out all of the great work that Brandy is doing over there. Believe me, you need help in this world when it comes to the digital realm. You absolutely need that help. Let me give you a couple of numbers before we head on out of the bunker tonight. Your goal scorers in this game for the Nashville Predators. We just talked about Philip Forsberg. We talked about Tanner Jeannot. Ryan Johansson adds another goal this season. He's having a very impressive season overall individually. And for the Nashville Predators, it's great to see so many of their big-name players with the big numbered contracts stepping up and having big statistical seasons. Philip Myers also gets his first goal of the season, and he picks up the other goal for the Nashville Predators game. Assists spread across the board. Cousins, Duchesne, Granlund. You'll see one on Sissons, and you'll see 3 for the captain, Roman Josi. This is almost becoming a daily box score occurrence. 3 points for the captain, Roman Josi. Now, total shots on goal for the game. Roman Josi, of course, led the team with 6. Philip Forsberg had 5. Matthias Ekholm also put 5 pucks on the net. When it comes to block shots, Tanner Jeannot blocked 3, also led the team in hits with 8. Second on the team in hits was Tolvanen with 4, and also Myers with 4. Time on ice, as it's normal nowadays. Granlund led the team in time on ice as far as forwards go at 20-29 skated, and your captain, Roman Josi, led the team overall in total time on ice at 25-13 in this game. For the Nashville Predators, they have dropped some games by playing down to competition. This one, though, stings even worse because they did fight back, and they did have the lead in the third period, and they were tied with under 2 minutes to go. So missing out on any points tonight in this opportunity against the Philadelphia Flyers really hurts for the Nashville Predators. Now, David Poile has to seriously take a look at his roster and evaluate what is possible. I would advocate signing Philip Forsberg and getting that out of the way as quickly as possible. We have now seen the deal to Hurdle out there in San Jose that pretty much sets the bar for Philip Forsberg. Of course, he's going to get more money than Hurdle, but we know more money than Hurdle, less money than Josi. Just work out the years, get it figured out, and get this team moving forward. That way, you can focus on the trade deadline and what you can actually do moving forward to help build this team. So many talks, so many rumors about Giroux becoming a Nashville Predator. Well, that's awful big eye candy right there. And for the Nashville Predators, I have no idea if they're willing to pay the price to bring a player like Claude Giroux in at this point in the team's development. Yes, you have some big name players having big time seasons, but for the Nashville Predators, they are still a middle of the pack team that is in the middle of a competitive rebuild, according to the general manager, David Poile. Exceeding expectations at this point in the season? Absolutely. Do I look forward to them hopefully continuing to do that? Absolutely. But for the Nashville Predators, locking up Philip Forsberg and concentrating on continuing this momentum forward, I think is the key. John Hynes really has this team going in a great positive direction, and I'm very much enjoying covering the team this season. All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up here from the bunker. We'll be back here Saturday night after the Nashville Predators wrap up with the Maple Leafs. We'll jump right back in the bunker. We'll get you a full episode of Renegades of Puck TV next week. When it comes to those West Coast back-to-backs, I know none of you are going to want to stay up until 2, 3, 4 in the morning to wait for an episode of Renegades Puck TV, but we are still going to go ahead and produce a full episode. It may be a little shorter than usual, but we're going to go ahead and get that episode up. That way you can follow up on anything you might have missed out in case you could not stay up until 12:30 watching the game and getting things wrapped up. All right, for Nostradamus, for Sean C. Smith, for Brian Baston, for K. Perk, for Ann K., for the ultimate one, I am your host and captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier. I sure do appreciate each and every one of you for jumping in the trenches with the Renegades of Puck. Stick tabs, love, respect.